A popular mobile game was remade and being delivered to the PC platform. Evil Nun: The Broken Mask puts players into a role of a child. Sent to a religious summer camp, players soon find themselves locked in a horrifying school, with a mad and evil nun, Sister Madeline, seeking to punish children with a giant hammer. You'll need to escape. Players will have to sneak around, solve puzzles, and get away from the AI.
You will never disobey God.
I don't want to.
Choo-Choo Charles is an unusual horror game. In this title, players navigate an area using an old rusty train fitted with a machine gun. Unfortunately, you soon realize a monstrous train fitted with spider legs is somewhere in the area as well. With the townsfolk in peril and your own life at stake, players are forced to battle against this creature. You'll use the train to reach different areas quickly, find scraps to upgrade your train, and attempt to rid the world from Choo-Choo Charles.
Or simply because it tastes so delicious. Human flesh is highly appreciated. We do not know the reason why, and we don't really care.
Inspired by Sweeney Todd and launched April 29th this year, help Percival and Hildred work their way out of poverty. Percival looks after the tailor shop, while Hildred looks after the pub. Earn your choice cuts from the tailor shop, steal their clothes for more material, and improve your recipes and other skills in point-and-click gameplay. Build your reputation and coffers of both businesses. The only hitch is that someone already knows what you're up to. Multiplayer tactical games have been popular of late, and there are a few that aim to have something worse than an imposter among us. Launching in early access September 17th, fix up the space station, find keys and codes, and find the breakdown systems as a team of survivors, while disguised yet horrific monsters with telepathic powers pretend to work alongside them. Uses numerous devices and even like to work out who are the monsters, or skulk in the shadows. Use ventilation shafts to move around, and use artifacts to gain energy. Your abilities can stop devices and survivors, but be subtle or you'll be caught out. If this asymmetrical 4v2 game does sound a little familiar, Doghowl Games are honest about their inspiration. Post-launch, the game will add a Mafia-like game mode based on Among Us. The game also promises to add more randomized events and screamers, improved UI, more abilities for man and monster, and more. Unholy is a rather interesting horror title in terms of the narrative. Players take the role of a mother named Seda, one of the last remaining humans living in the last city. This city is operated by a class-style system where humans are regarded as the bottom tier while other creatures thrive above. Each day there is a fear of higher-ranked classes crashing below and overtaking the area. As a result, humans are forced to live in shadows. One day Seda's child is abducted, resulting in her risking her life seeking clues. Most of the game will rely on being stealthy and even using items to help impersonate a creature of a particular class. As mentioned, stealth is mainly the approach you'll need to go through the game, but it does seem that there are some combat elements. However, dead bodies could attract others to search the area, making killing risky. Luca has awoken locked in a dark room, with his hands covered in blood. The demon MADiSON has forced him to continue a decades-old ritual. Will you continue to be part of something sinister? Or better yet, can you see it through? Use photographs to solve puzzles that change every time you play, with random events to keep you on your toes as you're pursued. Promising to be an immersive story, the game launched July 8th.
It smells horrible there now, like death.
Martha is Dead is a first-person psychological horror game that puts players into 1944. The brutal war between the Germans and Allied forces rages on within Italy. However, a young woman's body is discovered. Drowned and left with a mystery as to what happened to the moments leading up to this death, players will set off to find the truth. It's a game centered around folklore and tragedy that comes with war. Unfortunately, we're still waiting for this game to launch into the marketplace as it missed 2021's intended launch window. Now, the game is going for a February 2022 release. Fobia's St. Dinfna Hotel is a psychological horror game that's a bit like Outlast. You're a journalist that happens to stay at a hotel. However, you soon find out that the hotel is far from ordinary. Worlds collide, and now you're stuck in a place that hosts all sorts of supernatural entities. To figure out what's going on, our protagonist Roberto must use his journalist's gumption. You'll explore, solve puzzles, and attempt to uncover the dark mysteries behind this building. Meanwhile, you'll also have to use a special camera that will allow the ability to see what's going on within both worlds. After not hitting the goals ebb Software had hoped for when presenting Scorn on Kickstarter, the game managed to continue full production thanks to a private investor. This upcoming FPS horror title doesn't have much background information. The development studio is hoping players are thrown into this nightmarish world and from there are forced into exploring while fighting off grotesque monsters. As players explore, they will uncover information about the organic world they'll be venturing around in. Visually, the game is quick to gain some attention with the developers being inspired by H.R. Giger. However, it's a bit of a mystery as to what story will be unfolding in this strange organic world. While the game missed out on releasing in 2021, it looks like the developers are pushing for an October 2022 release window. Revealed during the Game Awards 2020, we received the announcement for Evil Dead the game. The game looks a lot like Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, the game in which players take control of a character such as Ash and must work with a team to close an interdimensional portal. With a portal open somewhere in the woods, players will find all kinds of different monsters popping into our realm. This is a multiplayer-focused game, so you can either play together as a group defending the world from these unwelcome inhabitants, or you can take control of a demonic creature and fight against a group of survivors. From Tango Gameworks, the developers behind the Evil Within series, comes a new IP, Ghostwire Tokyo. This video game was unveiled during E3 2019, where we got a snippet of information. Acting as a third-person action-type video game with spooky elements scattered without, players are in for a new kind of horror game from the development studio. We didn't get a ton of information from the announcement presentation of Ghostwire Tokyo, though we do know that, as the title suggests, this game will be set within Tokyo. Something strange has been going on within the city, and it seems that people are entirely vanishing out of thin air. Players are tasked with finding out what is causing all the vanishings, and along the way, you'll come across supernatural entities that may be hostile or nice. It's a unique jump from the Evil Within, which offered a more linear horror approach, while it seems that Ghostwire Tokyo is looking to take a more open-world stance to the gameplay. With that said, this seems to be more action-oriented with horror elements.
Right down at the bottom of the well with the rest of them. And what's the point of that?
Launched June 10th, the Quarry was considered a spiritual successor to Until Dawn, though not part of the Dark Pictures anthology. For those unfamiliar, these games are interactive horror films, where your choices decide who out of a group of, usually, teenagers survive. You can even play in multiplayer so all your friends can join in the frights and controversial decisions. As a group of summer camp counselors wrap up and celebrate, teenage revelry is soon stamped out by viscous locals and a far more supernatural threat. Flip between the 9 hapless counselors and think every decision through carefully if you have time when being pursued. Up to 7 friends can play along online, or kick back and enjoy the talents of David Arquette, Ariel Winter, Brenda song, and more in movie mode.
This isn't a ghost story, it's a creature feature. It's really happening and you're all in it.
This is gonna get a little messy.
Red Barrels was first established in 2011, where the developer brought out a massively successful horror series called Outlast. The video game franchise only has 2 mainline installments, but we know that the third title is in the Outlast Trials works. This will be a unique title compared to the previous 2 installments in that this game is focused on multiplayer. No information has really come out about the game, but from what has been stated, the title will focus on test subjects that were conducted during a Cold War experiment. Because of how popular the first 2 games are, we imagine there will be quite a few players interested in diving into this installment when it launches at some point this year.
Doctrine over person.
Resident Evil 8 changed the game in various ways, not the least of which was bringing forth a brand new story with now classic characters, as well as putting some twists on the story of Ethan Winters. Now though, the story is about to continue, because with the upcoming story expansion Shadows of Rose, you'll play as Rose Winters, who goes back to the village that she was taken to long ago so that she can learn the truth about who she is. Dead Space might be getting a remake this year, but one of the main driving forces for its creation was Glenn Schofield. Currently, Glenn is working at Striking Distance Studios, where they are developing the Callisto Protocol. This is a survival horror game set within the PUBG Battlegrounds universe. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a ton of footage and marketing materials released for this game quite yet. However, we do know that this game is set in the distant future where you're taking the role of a prisoner. On transport to a prison facility at Jupiter's moon Callisto, your ship is suddenly invaded by aliens, leading you to fight for your survival. Dying Light 2 Stay Human was a game that quite a few fans were hopeful of picking up last year. Unfortunately, the game was pushed back, so it's on our anticipated 2022 list. If you've played the original Dying Light video game, then you know what's going on in this one. You're essentially stuck in a world full of the undead. Players are simply working to survive with a safe haven established and run by various factions. There's a bigger focus on melee and parkour combat in these games. This means players will run around, climb, and vault over objects. Another element that makes Dying Light a bit unique compared to other zombie-based games is the day and night cycle system. During the day, the zombies are more passive. However, at night these become incredibly aggressive and quite a bit faster.
You're torturing us! You're hurting me!
Nothing could ever tear us apart anyway.
Is that you?
There's a ton of killer footage to be had here.
The Dark Pictures Anthology has released games that give players a small horror experience. Each game is played the same way as you control a group of characters and make a series of choices that alter the narrative. Meanwhile, the gameplay thrives on exploration and QTEs. The 4th and final installment to this first season of video games, The Devil in Me, is coming out this year. So far, it looks like the narrative is based around a group of documentary film crew checking out a replica murder castle. However, the group soon realizes it's a trap with a killer somewhere among them.